Hello there, welcome back to Mental Health TV. Hopefully you can hear us this time. Thank you very much for letting us know that you couldn't. That really is helpful. And it's also nice to know that anyone is listening, so thank you very much for that. We're talking about nursing associates today, and normally this is the part where we hand over to Dave to introduce, but Dave's on the naughty step today because the sound didn't go well, so I'll be doing that. If you want to join in with us on Facebook Live, please just put your comments in the box, and if you are wanting to tweet along to us, then please just use the hashtag MHTV. And for those of you who didn't get who the guest was, Mushtag, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm a registered nursing associate. I've been in the role for 1 month. Currently work on a CAMS unit in London, and I've done my training over the past 2 years. Started off with South London and Mounsley, then I finished off in South West London and St George's.
So tell us what a nursing associate actually does. What does it mean to be a nursing associate?
So the nursing associate is a role that was created to help out, to become a bridge between nurses and support workers. I think it was after the review of the Staffordshire incident, where they felt that the need for healthcare support workers to be educated. So it's also tapping into the staff, the workforce that people, the trust have. Because there's a lot of barriers, for example, with the removal of the bursary, people who have other responsibilities. So earning while you're learning, and then also have the opportunity to top up to become a registered nurse is an amazing opportunity. And it has really widened, a lot of people getting into nursing, definitely for me as well.
Yeah. So some things we were talking about before, we were talking about the fact that it's sometimes a controversial role because there are people who are extremely stressed, anxious, angry about the kind of role of the nurse and it being under threat. And I think that's something we can all agree with. So one, we have not enough people to provide mental health services of any kind. And we really do need to get as many hands to the pump as possible to give the best quality of care that we can. But also I really like this idea that we're able to recruit from a wider pool of people now. So whilst I'm passionately attached to the role of nurse, and I think very much that we need to enshrine it in law so that people can't misuse it, I also think that the fact that you guys are on a register as well, and are able to talk about maybe some people coming into the profession, maybe some people having access to participation they wouldn't have had otherwise. I think those two things are really positive. So I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad you've come on to talk about that, because I know it's not always easy, is it, to sort of talk about who you are and what you do in these kind of public platforms. So can you just tell us a little bit about what kind of role remit is for nursing associates, partly in general nursing, so we've got that kind of context, but also in mental health as well?
Yeah, so nursing associates, they are trained in all 4 fields of nursing, so general, learning disability, children, and mental health. And also we are trained to work with all type of people, starting from babies to older people, and we get placements in all 4 fields of nursing. In general nursing, the benefits is they get exposure to mental health and learning disability. It's more, I would say, the nursing associate in general nursing, they do more, I will say more skills compared to the mental health nursing associate. Because I know some registered nursing associates, they do medication apart from controlled drugs and rapid tranquilization in mental health setting. But once they are registered, they can also do, depending on the trust they're working for, further training to do IV fluids. So it also depends, on the policy. But in a way, it's easier to describe nursing associate. There's not much difference between the nursing, what a nurse can do, and what a nursing associate can do. They can't initiate. Initiate care plans. The nursing associate can review care plans, and also evaluate. So the initial assessment always has to be done by nurses, but and then it can be delegated to nursing associates for follow-up care. But so yeah, for in the mental health settings, what is it's very useful. You're trained to do phenopuncher, ECG, wound care, NG feeding. So that's helpful when you're working in eating disorder. And in terms of, also to trust your worker, but you also can do KPIs, you can do audits, you can review care plans, you can shift coordinate. I take part in ward rounds, CPA meetings, formulation. I've led professional meeting for a patient I was allocated to. So there's a lot of scope, and also that helps registered nurses with the workload. For example, on my ward, we always have 2 nurses and 4 support workers. And if one of the support worker is a nursing associate, then I can do the medication with the other registered nurse, allowing the nurse in charge to do management. And I can also participate in some of the meetings, because working in camps, there's a lot of meetings.
It's true.
Yes. So that, in that sense, it's very helpful. And then you can also do shift coordination. And so I can see how the nurse, having a nursing associate, can really assist a nurse. But also the great benefit to it as well is that a lot of nursing associates can top up. It takes a year and a half apprenticeship to become a registered nurse. And you don't have to necessarily do it in the field you're trained in. You can actually choose a different field.
Yeah. And often it's only really when you get exposure to different fields, you know for sure really what it is that you want to do and the kind of clients that you'd like to work for. So yeah, I think that's interesting. So we've got some questions coming through. I'll ask them up. So the first one is the program generic? And you were saying that it was generic.
Yes.
And that you get these options, but then you can choose to wear what you like. Is there preceptorship was the next one? Because you've just started in practice now.
Yes, you have preceptorship. It's one of the requirements for an NMC, for a registered nursing associate. But not everyone is joining the register, but majority are. And
you're saying you were actually joining register. Is there a revalidation requirement? You have to,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, so yeah, just like nurses, you have to revalidate in 3 years. Mine's not due yet, so I can't really.
No, you're fresh out of the barrel. That's good.
Yeah. So I can't really give much information, but I'm sure the first cohorts are due soon to revalidate.
They are. Yeah.
They start in 2000. Actually, they might have actually done the because they graduated in 2019, January. Yeah.
So some of them will have gone on to be nurses. Some of them will be working in completely different fields, but related probably to health and social care. And some of them will be revalidating as NAs. So yeah, good. So we've got another question in here from Alfonso. Hello, Alfonso. What's your experience of staff? And then there's a list of staff like registered nurses and patients' attitudes towards you as a nursing associate. Do they understand what it is? Are they positive?
Oh, patients. I always explain my role. Sometimes, it is a new role, and I have to be honest, it was quite hard in the beginning. It still is in some way, but it takes time. Some nurses are they don't agree with the role. They see it as a replacement for nurses, but nursing associates are not there to replace nurses because they're there to support nurses. Just like like doctors, you have associate physicians. With OTs, you have OT assistants. So in every healthcare profession, you have either support roles or technicians. And I do really believe, because nursing is what we were doing 50 years ago, we're not doing right now. So it's constantly evolving. We have now advanced clinical practitioners. So my personal view is that even healthcare assistants, they should. I believe the healthcare assistants should do nursing associate role, and I think as time goes along, nurses will become more and more advanced. And we just recently, since 2013, it is a degree. Nursing is a degree. That's another argument people do say. as a criticism. But what they don't understand is we also do a degree. It might be a foundation degree, but it's just to the same standards and framework. We also, nursing associate, they have to complete the same placement assessment document. I know a nursing associate who's doing the top up at the moment, and she said, I've already been signed off for the skills, but I have to repeat them. You know, it's a waste of, but she has to do it, but to become a registered nurse. So, yeah.
But it's a strange one, isn't it? Because there is duplication, there is overlap, but we work in a complex system, and at the end of the day, I think people will cope with it, won't they? So have you experienced any challenges in making sure the role is understood widely? And you were saying absolutely that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I can share this, but yeah, oh God.
You can tell us anything.
I had real difficulties, but the good thing was I already had lots of experience prior in different fields. And so I had people who didn't really want to teach me. And I've raised concerns. I have written emails, and a person actually recently has been sacked because of one of part of my consequences. So there is resistance, but there's also a lot of people who are very supportive, you know, of the nursing associate. And I think also the more supportive that you are of nursing, because you might not like, you might not like the role, but you will come across them. You will have to supervise them. You will have to sign them off. And if you teach them well, they will be great use to you, and they will become great nurses afterwards. Because majority of them want to become nurses. Yeah,
I agree there, and I think, you know, were we in a situation where we were overflowing with nurses, that would be, you know, I can understand how some people might feel worried about being undercut, but we are so short-staffed. It's dangerously short-staffed of qualified nurses. So we need anybody and anyone who has a will to look after and support people with mental health difficulties at the moment. And I can't understand why a registered nurse would be rude or unkind to a colleague under any circumstances. It's a weird thing we work in sometimes. Quite a stressful time, I think, for people. One of the things that we were talking about, though, but sadly no one else could hear it, but it was really interesting discussion. We were talking about like delivering care. We were talking about sort of finding your voice and things like that. And you were telling us a little bit about how you use Twitter. I wonder if you could refresh us about how you were using Twitter as part of your practice.
Yes. So I started off Twitter in 2019. It was I didn't start it off as a professional account, but I just to journal my training. I've used it to a great advantage because I connected with a lot of people, students, academics. I've learned a lot from people who are share their lived experiences and debates, and also other healthcare staff. And I don't watch TV, so it's a great way to be connected with what's going on around the world. And also connected to nurses in America as well, and it's quite fascinating. And I use it. For me, it is a good. I mean, it has its negative, but it for me is definitely a benefit. It has made me grow and also see opportunities that I didn't realize there were, because I'm the only one in my family who works in healthcare. And for example, I'll be especially like I have an aim to do a PhD. So when I follow people who do PhD, who are professors or who are academics, I'm learning from them. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, I think. So we were talking about the differences between sort of Twitter and Instagram and things like that. And we're saying one of the problems that you can have on Twitter is it can be quite a negative environment sometimes. It can be a little hardcore compared to something like Instagram, which is almost like a fictional account of someone's life. You know, it's like how your life could look if you had everything you dreamed of ever having, and it has a very different kind of feel to it being on Instagram. Whereas being on Twitter, you have you can have a debate with people, you can have questions, but you were saying as well how much you learn from people who are asking for help. And that way of working, you know, being able to say I'm having a problem around this, nothing specific, not identifying sort of a service user or anything like that, but actually reaching out and actually finding a community of practice, people who will support you and talk back with you. And it's like that privilege of being able to talk to anyone anywhere in the world, and then what you say reflects a lot more about you than it does about them. So one of the things, because we obviously encourage student nurses to do that, and you started when you were a student nurse. I wondered how you had the courage to find your voice, how you decided this is who I am, this is what I want to say.
So the funny thing is I'm actually in real life I'm a very quiet person, but I do tend to express myself best in writing. But I think being an open person, and also so I just tend to express myself. But also another thing I think was different, because even though, and that's another thing that I've because I did, thinking back, it might, what the things I have done, but the reason is because yes, I am a trainee nursing associate.
Yeah.
Yes, I might be at a lower band than you, but you're not more important than me. I value myself, and I talk to everyone, and that's the great thing about. I've learned so much from talking to people. So I speak to doctors. I speak to people who are very senior, because I don't see hierarchy. When I talk about hierarchy, I value people as people. I don't see the titles. Yeah. And I think that's why that's who I am, because there's always potential to grow, and that's why I don't have that fear, I would say, because I envision myself to become a professor one day, and I will be helping and sharing my stories, and learning is a two-way street. I learn a lot from listening to people, so you learn from everyone. But I think the problem is, again, with some people think they know it all, but you don't. And sometimes, people who are, it's actually the students who get the latest knowledge, who can teach you. So
I think it's the weird thing, isn't it? With stuff like that, you need to have quite an open viewpoint, don't you? And I think there's something about when you've trained and you've worked and you've got a level of expertise. It's sometimes hard, instead of being encouraged and supported and excited to hear what's new, you can actually feel like a threat, like you can almost feel yourself getting out of date. Or like, who does this person think they are to be able to tell me something? It's like, well, the person who knows it, so ask them. But it is a very odd sort of environment. And I can see how Twitter would suit you, because you have that fantastic confidence, and you also have that kind of openness about sharing your story, not being too worried about how other people are going to respond to it. But also what I think is really interesting is when I write on Twitter, I think of myself as talking, but it seems you really much see it almost like properly like microblogging. It's writing for you.
Yeah, so, I journal.
Yeah. So tell me about your journaling.
So I tend to write about my daily life, to be honest. Sometimes I use past experiences. Sometimes sometimes I post questions, but it's to get a debate and to get a few points, and but also to ask those questions, and also like, for example, sometimes I do say, I'm a reflective person, so I tend to sometimes when I read something or I tend to see observe somebody who's quite observant what's missing, and then I tend to tweet about it. But and I don't mind saying that, because at the end of the day, you have to be radical for change to happen. I'm not here to, if I want to. I know there's a lot of people who want to go really far in life, so they want to protect their image. But I guess I'm the opposite. Because I know I still will get far in life, but also it's also quite important to be authentic and to share not just the good stuff, but also the bad stuff. And that's, I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people probably also relate to me, because I'm because of my authenticity.
I think so too. And the other thing you were talking about was your real interesting kind of transcultural working. Would you tell me a little bit about that too?
Yeah. So I've worked in mental health specifically. I've worked in a few trusts, but I've also worked in general nursing and midwifery. And coming from a Somali background, I haven't come across a lot of Somali patients. and I also work for a Somali mental health project, part of Mind in Harrow.
Why do you think that maybe we don't see as many Somali people as are experiencing illness? Why do you think that is?
Because I think, well, especially with Somali people, but also I'm sure with other ethnic minorities, is people hide it. They come, the first treatment option will be going to the religious leader, imam, mosque, and also tries to hide it, and so they wouldn't seek the medical option first. So and then I think often people come in services when they're in crisis or through being sectioned, which isn't the right way. So but then
reinforces that stigma in the community then, doesn't it? Absolutely. So not only instead of seeing health as part of like recovery, it's seeing as sort of almost criminalized in some ways. So that's the only way you ever come into a service when you're made to. It's for a very different experience for people.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of fear as well.
Understandable.
And also there's a stigma that once you do have mental health problems, that's it. That's no recovery, which is not true, obviously. But also, again, there's not many Somali mental health professionals, also researchers, and I always, it's kind of one of my pet peeves when I read in health literature, communities are hard to reach. No, they're not. Services are hard to reach, because what are you doing to make it accessible for other people? And because in London, being from a Somali community, working for a few mental health trusts, I never seen any targeted, ethnic
health information.
Any targeted services for ethnic minority. I read an article in Sheffield where they have transcultural workers who are, majority of them are social workers, but also some mental health workers. And they also provide translating services. So they are funded by the council, and they do all the transcultural work. And then you have a diverse group of people with different languages who will provide in-reach services to the community teams. So that's and that's how and so they know what's available in the communities, and that's how they help out. Because otherwise, mental health, it's not equal.
No, it's not. It's a weird thing, isn't it? When people are like, oh, people from BAME communities don't trust us. Like, for good reason. That's not an accident. That's something that we earned that reputation, I think, sometimes in the past. And there's something around exactly as you're saying. If people don't recognise the service as helpful, they won't use it. They'll send relatives home. They'll do trying to look after people at home. All those sorts of things that put so much pressure on a family, particularly if they're struggling already with well-being.
Absolutely. And also, being in London, 45% of the healthcare staff are from Black ethnic minority. But I'm a nosy person. But I look at the NHS, the London NHS boards, and I was like, gosh, I think it's only two. Well, it's only one person now who is of Black ethnic minority, and the majority of the boards are white. So how can they design services where they don't even know what's going on or what the issues are, and when they don't even represent? So I always say, like, diversity has to be from top down, and equality should not be, or inclusion should not be an afterthought. It should be always at the center of decision making.
Built in, for sure.
Built in,
For anyone who's like struggling with this, is like what's going on with that. If you look at Roger Klein's work, sort of Snowy White Peaks, that's an old classic text, and that's been going for ages. Being really clear about the further you go up that management structure, basically the whiter it gets. And you see that in a lot of nurse education. You see that in a lot of RCN boards. You see it in a lot of those kind of professional governance bodies. And there's no good reason why people shouldn't be served by people who look like them at all levels. That should be something that is an automatic, and it's such a struggle to get it right because of all these systemic issues and because of racist attitudes as well. And it's really important for us to call that out, because people can't be well in a society where they can't be themselves.
Absolutely. And that's why I find Twitter so helpful, because I'm a nobody, but I can use my voice and question and talk about issues. And I think that's a bit of a power shift, where people can be challenged, because people who are used to hearing their voices and, are not challenged can be publicly be challenged, which does happen on Twitter.
Yeah, it does. It does, and sparks outrage. The equality, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because sometimes people misuse the power to say anything to anybody. We've all been on the other end of that on Twitter, I'm sure, at one stage or another. But overall, I think that ability to just say what you think and for anybody to talk to anybody is really, really beneficial. And used properly, it's incredibly powerful. It reminds me of those sorts of really interesting things, like if you come across like reverse mentoring.
Yes.
So instead of somebody at a lower level being, taken into the boardroom, given a nice cup of tea once a month, actually reversing it and flipping it over. And there've been some amazing changes done by people who are in senior positions, actually just following people who are doing everyday work and understanding, actually, that's not how I thought that was. Because they're the people who need to change. They're the people who need to learn, not everybody else. Absolutely. Have you had a chance to be part of that or seen it in work?
Yes, I actually just finished recently being me the first mentor for a board leader.
What was that like?
Oh, in the beginning, I was very excited, and I thought to myself, "What did I get myself into?" But then, it went well. It was a bit scary in the beginning, but yeah, it went well, and I think it was a bit also. And now I have another meeting coming up because of that with the CEO. On this Friday, talking about nepotism and what I have observed, and one of the reasons why I left the trust. Yes, and that's again, using my voice. I'm a nursing associate, but I have had. Even while I was training, I shadowed the director of nursing. I went to the board meeting, so that's as a trainee nursing associate. So I think. Don't think of yourself being small, because you can definitely network and learn.
That's some good advice. That's some good advice. Whilst I wouldn't necessarily agree with you when you said you're a nobody, that's not a mental health way. I think that idea that you're an anybody is, we're all anybody's, aren't we? Anybody can say anything. If they notice a problem, tell somebody. And what I think I really enjoy about talking to you is you are fearless. Just like, oh, I don't like that. I'm just going to tell you, I don't like that. And I know that can upset people, but I think it's really important in a world where a lot of people fudge it. But just say what you think and let people learn and grow. So have you got any, we're going to have to finish up soon, but I wondered if you've got any sort of advice or anything you'd like to leave people with as a thought.
For the nursing associate, I would say give it some time. There's a lot of negativity. So be the inspiration, because you have to remember a lot of nursing associates want to become nurses, and I've sometimes thought to myself, oh gosh, do I really want to become a nurse? Because when you have a bad experience,
me too. I think that
I do want to become a nurse, but they are the future generation, and so nourish them and and support them, and who knows, they might become your manager one day. So be nice.
Yeah. That is both smart and kind. Be nice. That's a beautiful message, because one day they might be your boss. Sensible. Yeah. So I quite like that as a way to leave it for everybody. I like that idea. That idea that actually, how we treat people is so important. You can't say that you care about other people, you want to be a good nurse if you're mean and kind to people around you, because you've got an agenda that you haven't been able to get fulfilled. So I really love that. So one of the things to bear in mind is to say thank you so much to Mushtag for your patience and your calm attitude throughout our problems. Hope Vanessa gets better soon, because obviously Vanessa's not well tonight. So much love to Vanessa, and thank you very much to Dave, whose stalwart efforts have got us back on the road, and to people watching who are like basically filled the whole feed with "we can't hear you," which is good, because we eventually understood that that's what was happening. So thank you very much to you all. If you do have any questions or follow-ups, you know where we are on Twitter or Facebook, and you can let us know. So we're going to finish up tonight and say thank you so much. Good night all.
Bye-bye.